and welcome to Plus Sports, the show where we give a different perspective on sports as we look at the stories of athletes who not just amaze but also inspire. I'm Patricia Bermudez-Hizon. Here we will give you not just the latest in the sporting world, but also the stories behind the athletes' struggles, victories, and motivation. We go beyond the stats as we celebrate great athletic feats with you. The world's greatest athletes are just about done competing at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, but before the curtains close at the Games, we look back at what transpired there and at the performances of our athletes here on Taken Tokyo. With boxer Carlo Paalam winning a silver medal in the men's flyweight division yesterday, the Philippines has officially wrapped up its campaign at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. And it is the country's most successful appearance at a single Olympics, with the country winning 4 medals, 1 gold, 2 silvers, and 1 bronze. Now, the Tokyo Olympics are set to end tonight with its closing ceremonies concluding what has been a spectacular 16 days of incredible feats by the athletes and their inspiring stories. Now, we still haven't seen what the closing ceremonies will be or what it will look like, but if the breathtaking opening ceremonies a couple of weeks ago was any indication, we will be in for another visual treat before Tokyo passes the baton to Paris as the next Olympic host. The theme of the Tokyo Olympics is United by Emotion, and we're sure that the closing ceremonies will still stick to this theme of using sports as a way to unite people of different countries and backgrounds. As for the Philippines, one thing we do know is that boxer and Olympic silver medalist Nesthy Petecio will be the country's flag bearer at the closing ceremonies. The announcement was made by the country's chef de mission in the Tokyo Olympics, Mariano Nonong Araneta, and it was a well-deserved honor for Petecio, who certainly did the country proud when she competed in the women's featherweight division. But before the closing ceremonies officially end the Tokyo Olympics, we look back at 5 of our favorite moments from the Games. The first one is when high jumpers Mutaz Essa Barshim of Qatar and Gianmarco Tamberi of Italy shared the gold medal after they remained in a deadlock after hours of competing. Not only was it a historic moment, but it definitely strengthened the bond of 2 close friends. A similar moment of sportsmanship occurred in the final of the men's 800-meter semifinal event when runners Isaiah Jewett of the United States and Nigel Amos of Botswana helped each other up after crashing and falling down. Though they didn't end up with a medal, they showed what the Olympics is all about with one simple gesture. Meanwhile, gymnast Simone Biles showed the heart of a champion when she made a dramatic return to finish to win a bronze medal in the balance beam final. Biles had earlier skipped 5 of the 6 events that she was supposed to compete in to prioritize her physical and mental health, a move that earned praise among her fellow athletes. Now, this particular moment is composed of many others, but it was nevertheless historic as 5 new sports made their debut at the Olympics in karate, skateboarding, sports climbing, and surfing. Another memorable addition at the Games are the mixed gender events, allowing male and female athletes to team up for the first time in the Games. And finally, our last but definitely not the least favorite moment from the Tokyo Olympics was weightlifter Heidelin Diaz finally ending the country's 97-year gold medal drought by winning in the women's 55-kilogram event. I'm sure you also have your favorite moments from the Tokyo Olympics, and you can chat with us and share with us what they are. But those are just some of the moments that stood out for us and captured what the Games are all about, which isn't just about competition, but also about sportsmanship and character. With the Olympics in its final day and with the last few events at Tokyo wrapping up, it's time to look at our latest medal tally to give us an idea of which countries will end up with the most medals. Guess what? The United States climbed back to the top of the medal table with just hours to go before the end of the Olympics with 39 gold medals and 112 total medals. China, meanwhile, slides down to second place but remains close behind with 38 gold medals and 87 medals overall. Host country Japan remains at third place with 27 golds and 58 total medals, while Great Britain holds the fourth spot with 21 gold medals and 64 medals overall. The Russian Olympic Committee sits at the fifth place with 20 golds and 70 total medals, while the Netherlands, Germany, Italy, and France round up the top 10 countries with the most medals. And over at the 50th place, the Philippines has 4 Olympic medals, 1 gold, 2 silvers, and 1 bronze in the country's most successful stint in a single Olympics. And that is our take on Tokyo. From the Olympics, we move on to an athlete that, even though he hasn't represented the country at the Olympics, has given the Philippines tremendous pride and glory whenever he steps in the boxing ring. Every Filipino is familiar with the story of Manny Pacquiao, boxing's only 8-division world champion and one of the greatest of his generation and of all time. Pacquiao overcame poverty and long odds to rise to the top of the sport and become one of the biggest athletes in the world. But when he steps back into the ring on August 22 to face Errol Spence Jr., Pacquiao will be out to prove that he remains at the top of his game even at the age of 42. We talk about Pacquiao and his upcoming challenge inside the ring here on Athlete's Feet. Even if he hangs up his gloves and never steps into the ring again, Manny Pacquiao's legacy as one of the greatest boxers of all time is secure. But when he returns to Las Vegas later this year to fight against Spence, a taller fighter who is more than a decade younger than him, Pacquiao will be out to prove that age is just a number and that he remains one of the world's best welterweights even in his 40s. Pacquiao already proved that he still has plenty left in the tank when he knocked down and defeated Keith Thurman last July 2019 in his most recent bout. But facing Spence will be another challenge, especially since that he hasn't stepped into the ring for 2 years and has many responsibilities back here in the country as a senator. The Tokyo Olympics proved that the country's future in boxing is bright. But later this month, Pacquiao, who served as an inspiration to a new generation of Filipino fighters, will try to prove that he can not only defeat the opponent in the ring, but also Father Time. And that is the story of boxer Manny Pacquiao here on Athlete's Feet. We move on from one boxer to another in Nesthy Petecio. Now, if you remember watching the opening ceremonies of the 2019 Southeast Asian Games, it was Pacquiao and Petecio who served as the country's torchbearers as they lit the cauldron to start the games. That moment was actually fitting, for it served as a passing of the torch from one boxer to another who will continue to play for the Philippines and make the country proud. Today, we talk about Nesthy Petecio's inspiring story and rise to become an Olympic silver medalist here on Women in Sports. Like many boxers before her, Petecio fell in love with the sport at an early age, starting when she was just 7 years old when her father trained her and her siblings in their native Davao del Sur. Boxing was her way out of poverty as she was able to join barangay competitions, using the prize money to help her family make ends meet. But soon, her talent in boxing would give her more opportunities, such as a chance at an education and soon a chance to represent the country in different tournaments and competition. Petecio was bringing home medals and trophies for the country, which included wins at the Southeast Asian Games, the IGGY'S Women's Boxing World Championships, and now the Tokyo Olympics, where she won a silver medal. And along the way, the 29-year-old Petecio also broke the stereotype that boxing is only a sport for men. Not only was she able to compete as a boxer, she was also able to win at the highest level of competition. And that is the inspiring story of our very own boxer, Nesthy Petecio, here on Women in Sports. From boxing, we go back to basketball, where the Olympic tournaments have just concluded, while free agency in the NBA continues to see teams making deals and transactions to prepare for the upcoming season. Here's everything you need to know about basketball on our Inbound. After a frenzy of deals and transactions at the start of free agency, most of the remaining big names in the market are reportedly going to stay with their teams. After leading the United States men's basketball team to another Olympic gold medal, Kevin Durant will remain with the Brooklyn Nets and is set to sign a 4-year, $198 million extension, according to reports. Durant will team up with All-Stars James Harden and Kyrie Irving to try to bring a title to Brooklyn. Another big name in free agency is Los Angeles Clippers forward Kawhi Leonard, a two-time champion, a two-time Finals MVP, and a 5-time All-Star. While the details of his new contract are still being worked out, multiple reports have emerged that Leonard will remain with the Clippers, which makes Los Angeles one of the favorites in what will be an exciting Western Conference playoffs. Meanwhile, former NBA Finals MVP Andre Iguodala will have a reunion with former teammates Steph Curry and Draymond Green after reportedly agreeing to return to the Golden State Warriors. Iguodala is a 3-time champion who won all of his titles with the Warriors before leaving in 2019 to join the Miami Heat. Meanwhile, the NBA is currently having its Summer League tournament, and if you're a PBA fan, you may see a familiar face on the bench of the Sacramento Kings. That's because former PBA and Gilas player Jimmy Alapag will be serving as an assistant coach for the Kings during the Summer League, fulfilling a role that he previously did in 2019. Congratulations to you, Coach Jimmy, and we are praying for your success. Meanwhile, let's go back to Tokyo. Both the men's and women's basketball Olympic tournaments have wrapped up, and in the end, it was a familiar country that has reasserted its might on the sport. The United States defeated Japan in the women's basketball final 90-75 to bring home another gold medal, which is their 7th consecutive. The win completes America's sweep of both men's and women's basketball events after the men's team defeated France to win the gold yesterday. Japan had no answer for Brittany Griner, who finished with 30 points to lead the Stars and Stripes. The victory is special for longtime players Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird, as it is their 5th Olympic gold medal as they become the first basketball players to win 5 Olympic golds. And that's all we have for now on basketball here in Inbound. Back in the Olympics, the games in Tokyo are close to wrapping up, and it's just amazing that the Philippines has won the most medals among Southeast Asian countries. It just shows how far our country's athletic program has come. And with the games closing tonight, and before we look forward to the 2024 Olympics in Paris, it's also important to celebrate what our athletes have accomplished in the past couple of weeks in Tokyo, because it is something worth celebrating and cherishing. For more sports stories here and abroad that not just inform but also inspire, catch Plus Sports every day on Plus Network. That's it for us here at Plus Sports. I'm Patricia Bermudez-Hizon. Thanks for watching.